Hi gang, today we're going to find the function rule from a table. Let's see what that looks like. In order to do this, you're going to first divide or simplify the change in y by the change in x to find the coefficient or the slope. Then you're going to substitute the m value and 1 point from the table into the equation y equals mx plus b and solve for the constant or the y-intercept. And last, you're going to write the function rule, that y equals mx plus b equation. Let's do a couple of examples. We're going to start with some really easy ones and work our way up to some more challenging ones. Number 1. So in this case, again, we start by finding the slope. The slope is the change in y over the change in x. So I'm just going to make a note, is change in y over change in x. So when you're finding the slope, you can work between any two coordinates. All of them should wind up being the same. So I'm going to pick these two. If I go from 1 to 4, I'm going up 3. If I go from -1 to 0, I'm going up 1. And our slope would be 3 over 1, or just 3. If I go from these two, 10 to 19, I'm going up 9. And then 2 to 5, I'm going up 3. And 9 over 3 is also 3. If I decided to go from all the way up here, 1 to 19, I'd be going up 18. And if I go from -1 to 5, I'd be going up 6. And 18 divided by 6 is 3. So you can find the slope between any of the given points. So now we can start writing our equation, y equals 3x. Our last part is to find the b value. Now, we're really lucky in this case because the b value is actually given. Now, remember, the b is the y-intercept. It's where you graph a point on the y-axis. Take a look at that table. Would any of those points wind up on the y-axis? Hopefully you spotted it. 0, 4, if I were to graph that, would be right on the y-axis. Therefore, it is the y-intercept. So in the equation, we would put plus 4. That's telling me that it's the line being shifted up 4 units on the y-axis. So I can put plus 4 because of the positive 4. Now, when we're looking for the y-intercept, it's only when x is 0. It's not when y is 0, unless the y-intercept is at 0, 0. All right, let's take a look at another example. Again, our final answer here was y equals 3x plus 4. Okay, number 2. In this case, again, we want to start by finding the slope, and we can use any 2 points. So let's start with the first 2. -1 to 2 is going up 3, and -8 to 2 is going up 6. So our slope, our m, is the change in y over the change in x, which is 3 over 6, or 1/2. So let's see if that would work between any of the other points. If I go from 3 to 6, I've gone up 3, and 0 to 6, 6 again. So again, 3 over 6 is 1/2. If I expand this and go -1 to 6, I've gone up 7. And -8 to 6, I've gone up 14, and 7 over 14 is also 1/2, proving that our slope for this table is 1/2. So y equals 1/2 x plus or minus the b value. So now again, we're really lucky because the point is given in the table. Take a look for it. Which one of those coordinates would be on the y-axis and is therefore the y-intercept? Hopefully you're seeing it as 0, 3. Again, 0, 3 is our y-intercept because that's where x is 0. So it's going to be graphed on the y-axis. So our equation is 1/2 x plus 3. Final answer. All right, let's see what you're in store for next. Number 3. All right, so again, we got to come up with our equation. We want to start by finding the slope. So we find the change in y over change in x between any 2 points. Let's start with these two. 4 to 0 is going down 4. -2 to 0 is going up 2. So change in y over change in x would be -4 over 2 or -2. Let's check it with some other points. If we went from 0 to 16, we'd be going up 16. If we went from 0 to 4, we'd be going up 4. Well, 16 over 4 gives me a slope of 4. Wait a minute. This is not going to work out because the slope is not consistent here. So this is actually not a linear function. So we cannot come up with the equation rule. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing that. If there isn't a pattern there and the slope does not wind up being the same through all the points, then you cannot write a y equals mx plus b equation. All right, so you're going to try 4 through 6 on your own or with a partner. You can pause the video here and try them and then continue when you're ready to go on. All right, so number 7, we're going to make it a little bit harder now because now, as you can see in the table, there is no x equals 0, so the y-intercept is not given. So again, we start by first finding the slope. -6 to -12 is going down 6. 2 to 4 is going up 2. So our slope is change in y over change in x, or -6 over 2, which winds up being equal to -3. Now, let's make sure this works in other parts of the table so we can be sure that it actually is a linear function. So if we go from -12 to -24, we're going down 12, and 4 to 8, we're going up 4, and -12 divided by 4 is -3. If we tried one more, -24 to -42 is going down, do the math in my head right now, so I'm going to flip it around. This is 8, it's going down 18, and 8 to 14 is going up 6, and -18 over 6 is -3. So we've proven that this scenario is a linear function, and we've gotten the slope of -3. So we have y equals -3x plus or minus some b value. Now I'm going to write it in this case because we don't see it in the table. So we have to actually figure it out. We have to actually do some algebraic calculations. So now we're going to take any one of those points in the table, let's say to -6, and plug it in. The -6 is the y, and the 2 is the x. So we have -6 equals -3 times 2 plus b. So -6 equals -3 times 2, which is -6 plus b. I add 6 to both sides, and b equals 0. So that means my equation is just y equals -3x, which hopefully you recognize as being a proportional equation. Proportional because it goes through the origin. The y-intercept is 0. And we could check it here. If we do 2 times -3, guess what? We get -6. If we do 4 times -3, guess what? We get -12. If we do 8 times -3, guess what? We get -24. And lastly, if we do 14 times -3, we get -42. So that one isn't too bad. Let's take a look at another example. Number 8. Again, we have to figure out the slope first. So we pick 2 points. -8 to -7 is going up 1. 2 to 3 is going up 1 as well. So my m is change in y over change in x, or 1 over 1, or just 1. Let's check to make sure this slope continues. If we do -7 to -5, that's going up 2. 3 to 5, also going up 2. 2 over 2 is 1. -5 to -2 is going up 3. 5 to 8 is going up 3. And 3 over 3 is 1. So my slope is definitely just 1. So we can write y equals x plus b. Remember, you don't have to put the 1 in front of the x if that's the coefficient or slope. So now we pick one of those points to plug in. I'm going to go with 2, -8. -8 is the y. 2 is the x. Subtract 2 from both sides. We get b equals -10, making my equation y equals x minus 10. And again, if we check it, if we do 2 minus 10, we get -8. If we do 3 minus 10, we get -7. If we do 5 minus 10, we get -5. And if we do 8 minus 10, we do get -2. So proves that that equation does model the table. Let's take a look at another example. Number 9. All right, so first again, we start by calculating the slope. Choose 2 points. 7 to 3 is going down 4. Negative 3 to 3 is going up 6. So my slope, change in y over change in x, is negative 4 over 6, which simplifies to negative 2/3. Let's make sure that slope is consistent with the rest of the values. 3 to negative 3 is going down 6. 3 to 12 is going up 9. And negative 6/9 is also negative 2/3. Lastly, negative 3 to negative 9 is again going down 6. And 12 to 21 is again going up 9. And we know that negative 6/9 is also negative 2/3. So we can start our equation, y equals negative 2/3 x plus b, and choose a point to plug in. I'm going to go with this negative 3, 7. So 7 is the y when negative 3 is the x. So 7 equals negative 3 divided by 3 is negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 2 is positive 1. Subtract the 1, and b equals 6. So my equation is y equals negative 2/3 x plus 6. And we could do some math to make sure we've got it right. If we were to do negative 3 times negative 2/3, we would get positive 2, and positive 2 plus 6 is not 7, so we did something wrong. Where did we go wrong? I see it. All right, so this happens every once in a while. Let's fix this up. So we've got 7 equals, and maybe you caught this without me, positive 2, negative 3 divided by 3 is negative 1 times negative 2 is positive 2 plus b. So we subtract 2, and we get b equals 5. So our equation should be negative 2/3 x plus 5. See, sometimes the teacher makes mistakes too. It's all good. Let's try that again. So if we do negative 3 times negative 2/3, we get positive 2. Positive 2 plus, or negative 2, no, positive 2 plus 5 is 7, so we did it correctly. If we do negative 2/3 times positive 3, we get negative 2. Negative 2 plus 5 is positive 3. If we do 12 times negative 2/3, that's 12 divided by 3 is 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. And lastly, 21 times negative 2/3 is 21 divided by 3, which is 7, times negative 2 is negative 14, plus 5 is 9. So we know that it is correct. All right. Number 10. We again have to start by finding the slope. 5 to 2 is going down 3. 4 to 8 is going up 4. So our m is change in y over change in x, or negative 3/4, which cannot be simplified, so we'll leave it like that. Let's make sure that the other parts have the same slope. 2 to negative 4 is going down 6. 8 to 16 is going up 8. So it will be negative 6/8, which does simplify to 3/4. So we got that part right. Negative 4 to 13 is going down 9. And 16 to 28 is going up 12. And negative 9/12, if we divide both parts by 3, again is negative 3/4. So we have y equals negative 3/4 of x plus b. Now again, y-intercept is not in the table because I don't have x equals 0. So I'm going to plug in 4, 5. 5 equals negative 3/4 of 4 plus b. 4 divided by 4 is 1 times negative 3 is negative 3 plus b. Add 3 to both sides, and b equals 8, making our equation y equals negative 3/4 x plus 8. So now if I were to check this, if I do negative 3/4 times 4, I get negative 3, add 8, and I get 5. If I do negative 3/4 of 6, or of 8 rather, I get negative 6, add 8, and I get 2. If I do negative 3/4 of 16, that's negative 12, add 8, and I get negative 4. And if I do negative 3/4 of 28, that's 28 divided by 4 is 7, times negative 3 is negative 21, and add 8, I do get negative 13. So it's just one way to make sure that you're getting the right answer. All right, so these can get a little bit complex, especially when you have a slope that is a fraction. Take your time, make sure you're doing all the work correctly and thoroughly. Don't make a mistake like I did earlier. All right, so now you're on your own for 11 through 12. We'll be around to help you out. Before you start your exit ticket, make sure you check in with me to get the right answers.